way, please.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, I'm game.
Dale, muchachos, vamos a salir de ahí para evitar problemas. Vámonos. Worried about guns.
Any weapons in you?
No belt. No belt. You keep going.
So there were 452 illegals apprehended at the Hyundai Mega Plant construction site yesterday near Savannah. And I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE. But it goes beyond just someone working illegally. Let me explain to you. These people are working for slave wages. Some are not getting paid. Some are being trafficked. They send money home to their country. They give money to their handler. They have hardly anything left. They live in homes 5 families deep, have no quality of life. It's modern day slavery. So if you think that ICE is just going in and ripping people out of their jobs, these hardworking people that want a better life, well, guess what? Politicians have really screwed these people, because when they came here, they thought they were, hey, the border's open, we're coming in, we're going to get the 5-star treatment, and we can go to the big Walmart, and we can live in a 5-star hotel, and that's just not how it is. It's very bad conditions, very inhumane, and the Biden administration started a humanitarian crisis. So y'all can't just look at it like they're ripping good people off the job. They're probably saving their lives in the long run.
Hey, everybody. I know the big talk now is about the massive immigration raid at the Hyundai Mega Plant in Georgia, where they arrested the South Korean workers. And I was reading here that South Korea is telling their people not to travel to the United States. Don't go, because they're arresting everybody. And this is at the Honda Mega Plant, It's a damn shame what's going on, though. They arrested over 475 people. And they saying that from South Korea, they were here illegally. They overstayed their visas that they had. Some of them had visa waivers and were prohibited from working. That's what they say. The funny thing about all this, right? Everybody's complaining about the illegal immigrants, but why aren't you complaining or arresting the people who hired them? The people who hired them was white folks. They were white people that hired them. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody. Maybe if the white folks stopped hiring the people, you wouldn't have had this problem. So now South Korea is telling even the business people, don't go to the United States. Don't go to the United States. They put them in chains, y'all. They put them in chains. Handcuffs, chains. It's a goddamn shame. A damn shame. But nobody's talking about the people who hired them. Nobody. And they're not talking about them because they were white folks that hired them. Just like they hired illegal immigrants to work on a farm. It's white folks. White people are hiring them. Trump even hired some. He can't say shit. He hired some. Yeah, you know, white folks, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. You're taking it out on the people that's working, but you're not taking it out on the fucking people that hired them because they're white. Fuck each and every one of you.
I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE.
So just to be clear, what you're proud of is hundreds of people being ripped out of a Georgia factory in one of the biggest ICE raids in history. 475 people, most of them South Koreans, were detained. And here's the thing. Hyundai already confirmed none of them even worked directly for Hyundai. Hyundai, that's how you pronounce it, by the way. They were subcontractors. Many were here on expired visas, not illegals hiding in the shadows like you're trying to sell. Translation? You didn't even expose some massive criminal conspiracy. You just disrupted lives, families, and jobs, and you're bragging on here online like it's a badge of honor. Maybe instead of clout chasing ICE, you should chase a history book.
What's up, Echo Room Vibes family? Hope you guys are all doing well, drinking some water and keeping your spirits up. Today we are diving into a heavy one. This comes from Stitch commentary that's been circulating about a massive ICE raid at the Hyundai Mega Plant construction site in Georgia, near Savannah. Nearly 500 people were arrested in one sweep. That's right, almost 500. Now I want to give credit to all the originators and stitches of the video you'll be seeing. The one from Tori Branum, the woman who says she reported what was going on to ICE. And the second perspective we'll be breaking down is from a stitch video that calls out not just the arrest, but the people who did the hiring, because that part seems to always slide under the rug when these stories hit the news cycle. So let's just dive into the rest of the video. I'll be back for more commentary.
Happened today. Hyundai, their main location in Georgia, was just raided by ICE. And they're reporting upwards of 475 employees detained, including over 400 South Korean nationals. Hyundai is a South Korean company. It also halted construction nearby of an EV battery facility that South Korea was investing in as part of all the deals they're trying to make with the Trump administration to avoid all of the tariff bullshit he's trying to apply to South Korea. Now, you can't just look at this as a simple ICE raid. You guys have to remember, there's new leadership in South Korea. The last South Korean leader was like Donald Trump. He was declaring martial law. He wanted to make it a military type of country, just like North Korea. And if you remember, the citizens of South Korea ousted him. They protested in the streets and they ousted him. And so this is the new president of South Korea, who's quite the opposite of Donald Trump. So Donald Trump already has an issue with South Korea and this new leader. Secondly, the United States has always been there for South Korea, promising to protect them with military support if the dictator from North Korea decides to do anything to South Korea. And now that's all gone because Donald Trump is friends with the North Korean dictator. Like, this isn't just all happening as a single, oh, we're just going to detain, immigrants. This is all part of a bigger plan to harm countries that are not pro-Trump and like Trump and want the same kind of fucking fascist, countries that Trump wants. And these are South Korean nationals. They didn't sneak across a border or anything like this. So this is a really big deal, because there's a lot of companies that are South Korean in the United States, and I wouldn't want to stay in the United States. If I were a South Korean company, I'd divest, I'd bail. If you're going to treat our nationals like this, who are just trying to work. I thought they were supposed to be the worst of the worst criminals our tax dollars are paying to remove. Crazy.
Let's take it from the top. It's not Hyundai, it's Hyundai. So if you're going to report anything to ICE, at least know the freaking name of it. Number two, in the first Trump administration, there was an agreement signed between Donald Trump and the South Koreans to bring some of their car manufacturing here to the United States. The South Koreans built a factory in the state of Georgia, and recently they have been adding to it, partnering with one of America's companies, LG, to produce electric vehicles, which would have brought billions to the state of Georgia and to the entirety of the United States and put a lot of people to work. Something you MAGA supporters are always complaining about. All of our manufacturing is being shipped overseas. And now that it's back in the United States, you want to open up your big fat Oopa Loopa mouth to ICE to get these people deported. And now all work has had to cease. And we've just damaged our relationship with one of our closest partners in Asia. I mean, do you people not think? It's this type of ignorance and silliness that got us Donald Trump in the first place, because you people just blindly do stuff. And now you just cost the state of Georgia jobs and money. I mean, what a stupid mother...
Did you see these videos of an immigration raid at a Hyundai construction site in Georgia? Listen to this.
Warrant for this entire construction site, okay? We're Homeland Security. We have a search warrant for the whole site. We need construction to cease immediately. We need all work to end on the site right now.
This happened at the construction site for the Hyundai and LG Energy Solutions new battery plant in Georgia, where agents from FBI, DEA, ICE, HSI, Georgia State Patrol, and others detained 450 people, including more than 300 Korean nationals. According to reports, agents went into the facility and asked everyone if they were U.S. citizens. Then they put U.S. citizens on one side and everyone else put on the other side and harassed and forced to show their immigration paperwork. Because of the raid, the South Korean government is very concerned about its company's investments in the U.S. and the treatment of its people. The South Korean government is trying to figure out why the construction site was raided, saying that the detained South Koreans had entered the U.S. on a B-1 temporary visitor visa. However, it is unclear if those workers subsequently tried to get a work visa or if they even knew that they couldn't work with the visa they had. But like we have seen from this administration, they're going after migrants regardless of their status. Hyundai did say that they're working with the U.S. government in the investigation, but if this is how the U.S. is going to treat workers, maybe more companies and potential employees should reconsider coming to the U.S. Look, I'm not trying to defend corporations that are probably taking advantage of their workers and their status. I'm concerned about the people. A lot of people were detained, which means kids probably went home with either one or both of their parents missing. These are people who are working, most likely paying taxes, and their only infraction is probably not having the proper paperwork to work in the U.S. And out of desperation, they took a job. This could all be a lot easier if the U.S. government actually let people adjust their status. If you think these people can migrate all the way to the U.S., get a job, pay taxes, but somehow they're not smart enough or law-abiding enough to adjust their status, then you have no idea how the immigration system actually works. This government makes it intentionally difficult for people to adjust their immigration status. Or in the case of the Trump administration, revoking people's status to make them undocumented. So undocumented people can be exploited, used as pawns in these political games, and at the end are the ones that are blamed for everything while the bosses and corporations get off free.
Welcome back, fam. So let's start with Tori. In her own words, she says, there were 452 illegals apprehended at the Hyundai Mega Plant construction site yesterday near Savannah, and I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE. Now, she claims it wasn't just about immigration status. She says folks were being paid slave wages or not paid at all, living in overcrowded conditions, 5 families to a house, barely surviving, and in some cases trafficked. That's serious stuff. But here's the catch. Tori framed her reporting as a kind of moral obligation, like she had to blow the whistle because she saw exploitation. She even said ICE might actually be saving lives here. That framing, that's what set the internet on fire. Because let's be real, ICE isn't exactly known for saving lives. We are talking about the same agency that has separated families, locked kids in cages, and conducted raids that left communities traumatized. So when someone says, no, ICE is a good guy this time, it doesn't exactly land well, especially in immigrant communities who have lived the trauma of ICE showing up at their doorstep. And this is where the backlash against Tori comes in. A lot of people online are accusing her of grandstanding. Others are saying she threw vulnerable workers under the bus to build her own platform. Some called her out for buying into the idea that Biden administration caused a humanitarian crisis at the border, as if that somehow absolved decades of broken immigration policies, cheap labor demand, and corporate greed. So let's sit with that. Was Tori right to call ICE? If people truly were being trafficked and abused, then yes, reporting that is important. But was ICE the only way to do it? Because she could have gone to labor rights groups, human trafficking task forces, or even media outlets to shine a spotlight on corporate exploitation without handing hundreds of people over to ICE detention. That's the question. Because the minute ICE is involved, it stops being about protecting workers and start being about mass deportation, broken families, and communities in fear. Now let's flip to the stitch video that raises another critical point. Everybody's complaining about the illegal immigrant, but why aren't you complaining or arresting the people who hired them? You know, the people who hired them was white folks. Nobody's talking about that. This right here cuts straight to the core. Because every time we hear about immigration raids, the spotlight is on the workers. We see photos of people in chains, buses full of arrested laborers. But we don't see perp walks for the contractors, the developers, the supervisors who look the other way and build entire profit margins on cheap, undocumented labor. Let's be honest, nobody sneaks 452 people into a Hyundai Mega Plant by accident. That's not 2 or 3 guys slipping through a fence. That's a whole network, paperwork signed, contracts approved, paychecks or lack of paychecks processed. That doesn't happen without powerful people knowing. So the question becomes, why aren't the executives and contractors being held accountable? If the workers are illegal, what about the people exploiting them? Because last I checked, wage theft, labor trafficking, and human rights abuses are crimes too. But you notice those folks rarely see a courtroom, let alone a jail cell. Now, here's another piece that makes this situation bigger than Georgia. Reports are already circulating that South Korea is warning its citizens about traveling to the US. That's not just bad press, it's a diplomatic embarrassment. Hyundai is a South Korean company, and when nearly 500 of your workers get arrested in chains on US soil, it's not just an immigration story, it's an international relations story. Think about it. South Korea has been one of the US's strongest allies. Military cooperation, trade deals, tech partnerships. And now we've got Korean nationals being rounded up in Georgia construction site like it's some bootleg movie scene. That damages trust and it sends a message that maybe America isn't as stable or welcoming for foreign partnerships as it claims to be. So let's zoom out. Both Tori's video and the staged response point also to the same uncomfortable truth. America runs on exploited labor. Always has. First, it was slavery. Then it was sharecropping. Then it was indentured servitude, prison labor, migrant labor, you name it. The system shifts, but the formula stays the same. Keep wages low, keep workers disposable, and keep communities divided so they don't rise up against the elites pulling the strings. And ICE raids don't actually fix that formula. They just shuffle the deck. One group of workers get deported, another desperate group takes their place, and the corporations keep building their mega plant at bargain rates. So here's my critique of Tori's framing. Yes, you expose real exploitation, but ICE isn't going to dismantle the system that caused it. They are just going to swap the players and keep the game going. At this point, America's immigration system is like Hyundai itself, designed to run forever, break down occasionally, and when it does, the people paying the price are never the ones at the top. And honestly, if ICE want to impress us, stop putting workers in chains. Start putting CEOs in jumpsuits. Then maybe people will believe the system is about justice instead of scapegoating. So I want to point this to you guys. Do you think Tori Branum was justified in calling ICE, or was there another way she could have exposed this without sending people straight into detention? Should corporations like Hyundai be held legally responsible for every single undocumented worker found on their sites? And the big one, do ICE raids solve labor exploitation, or do they just make it easier for corporations to find the next wave of desperate workers? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I know this one's going to spark some strong feelings. Thanks for watching, and from Echo Room Vibes, peace out.